Here's a dark truth most people don't want to hear. Being mentally strong isn't about being happy all the time, smiling through the pain, or pretending nothing affects you. In fact, the real signs of mental toughness often look a little unsettling. The people who are truly resilient don't always act like superheroes. Sometimes they act in ways that others might label cold, weird, or even ruthless. But here's the twist. These so-called dark behaviors are actually proof that you're stronger than most. So today, let's pull back the curtain and explore the 7 dark signs you're mentally stronger than most people. Picture this. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort like it's radioactive. They fear failure, they cling to other people's approval, and they crumble the moment silence enters a room. But not you. If you recognize the signs we're about to explore, it means you've developed a kind of inner armor. The kind that doesn't just protect you, but allows you to grow through chaos, setbacks, and rejection. These aren't the shiny motivational quotes you see on Instagram. These are the gritty, uncomfortable traits that separate those who survive life's storms from those who get swept away by them. Let's start with the first one. 7. You don't fear failure. Here's the thing. Failure hurts. It burns more than stepping barefoot on a Lego at midnight. That's why most people avoid risk like it's poison. They'd rather stay in their little bubble, safe but stagnant, than gamble on something that might flop. But mentally strong people, they've failed. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly, dramatically, maybe even publicly. And yet, they're still standing. Failure tolerance is like calluses on your hands. The first scrape stings, the second still hurts, but over time your skin thickens. Likewise, the more you fall flat, the less terrifying it feels to hit the ground again. Psychologists call this a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities aren't fixed but flexible. People with this mindset treat failure as data. Every mistake is feedback. Every flop is a cheat code from the universe showing you what not to do. Most people hear failure and think, I suck. You hear failure and think, interesting. Let's try again. That difference is everything. And here's the dark part. Because you don't fear failure, other people will see you as reckless, stubborn, or even insensitive. But what they don't understand is that failing doesn't define you, it refines you. 6. You're okay being alone. Let's be honest. Most people treat solitude like a contagious disease. They'll sit through miserable dates, hang out with toxic friends, or stream random Twitch channels just to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. But if you're fine sitting by yourself without going stir-crazy, that's a rare badge of mental strength. Being alone isn't isolation, it's independence. It means you don't need constant noise or validation to feel real. Psychologists describe this as having a low need for affiliation. You're not antisocial, you're just not afraid of your own mind. For most people, silence is terrifying. When the world goes quiet, their insecurities crawl out like raccoons at midnight. But if you can sit in that stillness, it means you've made peace with yourself. This is why solitude is a form of emotional Wi-Fi. You're not dependent on anyone else's signal. You generate your own. And sure, some people will think you're aloof or distant. But in reality, you're free from the desperate need to fill every silence with empty chatter, and free from relationships that exist only to distract from loneliness. 5. You don't chase revenge. Imagine this. Someone cuts you off in traffic, nearly turning your car into abstract art. The average person, they slam the gas, glare through the window, and plot elaborate fantasies of justice. You just let it go. That's not weakness. That's terrifying strength. Revenge feels sweet in theory because our brains crave balance. The inner toddler screaming, "They took my toy. I want theirs." But in practice, chasing revenge keeps you stuck in a cycle of bitterness. Psychologists call this rumination, replaying the offense like a broken TikTok loop. The longer you stew, the more rent-free space you give to the person who wronged you. Mentally strong people don't hand over that kind of power. They understand the darker truth. Revenge rarely fixes anything. The jerk doesn't repent. They just keep being a jerk while you waste energy plotting like a cartoon villain. Instead, you let go. Not because you approve of what happened, but because you refuse to carry their garbage in your mental backpack. That choice is liberating. It frees up your brain for better things, like pizza, creativity, or conspiracy theories about pigeons. To outsiders, this looks cold. But it's actually a power move. You've evolved past the need for payback. 4. You don't need constant validation. Picture this. You post a selfie online. Lighting's great, captions clever. Most people will refresh their phone for the next 3 hours, desperate for likes. You forget about it. That's a flex most people don't even realize is possible. Here's the science. Humans are wired to crave approval. Every like or compliment is a dopamine snack. But mentally strong people don't starve without it. Their self-worth comes from within, what psychologists call an internal locus of control. Translation: your value isn't hanging on whether a stranger double-taps your post. It doesn't mean you hate praise. It just means you don't need it to survive. You can enjoy attention without becoming addicted to it, like enjoying pizza without crying if someone hands you a salad instead. People who constantly chase validation are like human Tamagotchis. They require constant feeding or they collapse. You're solar-powered. You generate your own light, whether or not anyone's clapping. And that quiet self-assurance? It unsettles people. Because when you don't play the approval game, they can't control you with applause or criticism. 3. You laugh at yourself. First, imagine tripping over your shoelaces in public. Most people either run away pretending it never happened, or die inside for the next decade. But you laugh, loud and unapologetically. That's not just comic timing. That's psychological armor. This is called an adaptive humor style, using humor as a shield instead of a weapon. When you laugh at yourself, you rob embarrassment of its power. You flip the script before the world can. Here's the dark twist. This usually comes from experience. You've endured enough awkwardness, rejection, or chaos that your brain decided, you know what? Let's stop panicking and start laughing. It's resilience in disguise. You know, one clumsy moment won't define your life. It's just another blooper reel. Meanwhile, people who can't laugh at themselves? Exhausting. They turn tiny slips into Shakespearean tragedies. You're already busy turning it into stand-up material. 2. You don't overshare your drama. We all know that one person who treats social media like a confessional booth. Don't ask what's wrong. If you cared, you'd already know. Translation: emotional fishing with dynamite. But if you resist the urge to blast your drama to the world, congratulations. That's emotional regulation at work. Strong people process emotions internally. They pick their battles. They share only when it's constructive. If you vent every frustration, you're basically handing the world a remote control for your mood. But if you keep your drama private, your emotions belong to you, not the peanut gallery of Instagram comments. Ironically, this might make others think you're guarded or mysterious. But the truth is, you've just outgrown the need to turn pain into a soap opera. Mental strength often looks boring from the outside. But boring beats broadcasting breakdowns like it's reality TV. 1. You secretly love awkward silence. Now for the darkest sign of all. You secretly enjoy awkward silence. Picture this: you're at a party. Someone says something bizarre like, "I collect belly button lint in jars," and the conversation dies instantly. Everyone panics. Phones come out. Weather talk begins. But you sip your drink, calm as ever. Most people can't handle silence. It makes them feel exposed, judged, desperate to perform. But if you can sit in it without combusting, that's a superpower. Psychologists call this low social anxiety reactivity. Your brain doesn't scream, "We're all going to die," when things go quiet. Instead, it says, "Nice pause. Let's breathe." That's emotional armor. It shows you don't need to constantly control other people's perceptions. You're comfortable in stillness, something others find unbearable. Sure, people might call you weird or mysterious, but the truth is you're simply not afraid of silence. And that, ironically, makes you louder than everyone else scrambling to fill the void. So let's recap. You don't fear failure. You can be alone. You don't chase revenge. You don't need validation. You laugh at yourself. You don't overshare. And you can sit through silence without breaking a sweat. To the outside world, these habits might look odd, maybe even a little dark. But in reality, they're the fingerprints of resilience. You've built armor that most people don't even realize exists. So, if you saw yourself in these signs, congratulations, you're mentally stronger than most people, even if they'll never understand why. But here's the thing. Strength doesn't mean invincibility. It just means you know how to bend without breaking. And that's the ultimate advantage in a world that never stops testing us. If you found this helpful, stick around. In the next video, we'll explore something even darker. Psychological tricks people use to secretly control you. Because if you're already strong, the next step is making sure no one can hijack that strength for their own gain. Subscribe, and let's keep building that unshakable mind together.